Shalom to all the Jews and Gentiles alike, sending a strong Shalom to the children of light. Namaste to all. You already know what the deal is. We can give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, our power, to 𝐻𝐸 𝐷𝐢𝐻𝐸 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐝 Wakanda, the Great Spirits, the All Parents, Yahadonai. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother and acknowledgement to our elder brother, Yahushua HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai, Isa, Matzah the Lamb, Yesiah, the Messiah, Yahusha, the Lion from the tribe of Yehuda, the one the world calls Jesus Christ. So today, brethren, we're going to be talking about something very important today, and it's going to correlate with the video that we did last time with death, hell, and the outer darkness. So it's going to correlate really well. All right, so this is definitely a very important lesson that you do not want to miss. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and hop right into it. But before we hop right into it and start reading, we're going to go and read some definitions. All right, so we're about to go into the keys of Enoch. All right, the book of knowledge. We're going to go into the definitions and we're going to read soul, spirit. Soul and spirit are not to be conceived of as one and the same. The soul, nefesh, is the natural consciousness of life without the higher realization of worlds that have preceded this world and worlds that are to come. All right, so there's a difference between soul and your spirit. The soul must go through many formations, transformations, and rebirths before it can be intertwined with the divine consciousness of the overself. If you haven't seen the overself video, we've done videos on the overself. All right, so definitely go check that out if you haven't already. All right, continuing. Second, when one understands that the soul is not the same as spirit, which is ruach, one petitions the Godhead for the higher counsel to achieve true knowledge and true wisdom. At that time, ruach, as the spirit of higher reason, is given by God for inspiration and the understanding of multiple levels of the divine mind. Finally, when the ruach and the natural soul, nefesh, or synthesize, the higher aspirations of the union creates the sovereign soul of light, neshama, which is called into the light to beget the fruits of divinity and anoint those called to the work of the divine mind as a vehicle of higher love and wisdom. The formation of the soul-spirit unity necessary to work in the many mansion worlds requires the balance between the first and second triads of sonship. So we just setting the foundation right now, but we also going to get another definition, and it's going to be in the Pistis Sophia book. And we're mainly going to be reading out of the Pistis Sophia book, but we're going to be going into other places, like we're going to the Nag Hammadi, we're going to go into the Superscript. So we're going to be going line upon line, precept upon precept. Okay, so let's go to the Pistis Sophia book. This is the counterfeiting spirits. All right, the spirit within each physical form as the vehicle that pretends it is of the truth and of the Christ, so as to entrap souls in chaos and pathways whereby they cannot find their way to their true identity in the true light. Second definition, a consciousness mask of the lower rulers. Okay, the local logos, the Archons. We made a video on the local logos. All right, Starting from the top again. A consciousness mask of the lower rulers to overpower and control soul evolution. Those are the Archons. Those are the entities that want to keep you stuck, keep you distracted, and locked in carnality. All right, so let's go to the Pistis Sophia, book 3. All right, chapter 111. And this is 𝐭𝐻𝐸 speaking. After the Savior had said this, he continued again in his dialogue, saying to Mary, "Listen now, Mary, about the word you have asked me. What compels a man to sin? Now then, listen. When a child is born, the power in it is weak, and the soul in it is weak, and also the counterfeiting spirit in it is weak. In a word, the three together are weak, without any one of them perceiving anything, either good or evil, because of the burden of forgetfulness." The burden of forgetfulness is when you come into the flesh, right? And it says here, which is very heavy. That veil of the flesh is heavy. Furthermore, the body itself is also weak. And the child eats from the sustenance of the world of the Archons. And that is exactly what most people are doing. They are eating the sustenance of this world. The world of the Archons. The world of the local logos. They want to party. They want to have fun. They want to fornicate. They want to sleep around. They want to get drunk. You see, that's that counterfeit spirit that's making you do those things. Now let's continue. And the power attracts the portion of the power which is in the sustenance, and the soul attracts that portion of the soul which is in the sustenances. And the counterfeiting spirit attracts to itself the portion of evil which is in the substances and its desires. On the other hand, the body attracts into it the matter from the substances that is unconscious. The destiny, in contrast, takes nothing from the substances, for it does not mix with them, but it will leave the world in the condition in which it came. But little by little, the power and the soul and the counterfeiting spirit grow, each one of them perceiving according to its nature. The power becomes conscious and learns to seek after the lights of the heights. The soul becomes conscious and learns to seek after the region of righteousness, which is mixed, which is the region of the mixture, and the counterfeiting spirit becomes conscious and learns to seek after all evils and desires and all sins. In contrast, the body perceives nothing unless it extracts the power from the matter. The three immediately develop awareness, each according to its nature, and the avenging receivers assign the servitors to accompany them and witness all the sins which they commit, taking note for the method and manner of how they will chastise them in the judgments. So when someone walks out that body, that veil of the flesh is removed, that counterfeit spirit still gonna be with them. Okay? That counterfeit spirit still gonna be with you when you hop out that body. Okay? And again, everything is recorded. Everything is recorded. We covered that in the last video. Okay? Everything is recorded. Okay? Continuing on. And after these, the counterfeiting spirit observes and take notice of all the sins and the evil which the Archons of the great 𝐭𝐻𝐸, meaning fate, have commanded for the soul, and makes the soul do them. And the inner power moves the soul to reach for the region of the light and the whole Godhead. And the counterfeiting spirit tempts the soul and continually forces it into all its lawless actions, all its passions, and all its sin. And it holds steadfast to the soul, and is antagonistic to it, forcing it to perform all this evil and all these sins. So this is how the Archons are able to use you as a vessel. So let's say, for example, you stop doing a certain thing, right? Let's say you stop going to the club, you stop fornicating, you stop going to the massage parlor, okay? And then, I don't know, a few months go by, and all of a sudden, you go back right to it. You go back to the club, you go back drinking, you go back fornicating, you go back to the massage parlor, right? That's that counterfeit spirit. That is that counterfeit spirit, because that counterfeit spirit is going to make you, it's going to keep making you trying to do those things. That is your old man. That is your Sammy. That is your dark side that you got to get a hold of. All right. I mean, first you got to repent, right? And you got to understand and realize what you're dealing with, right? What you understand, what you're dealing with, and you increase your wisdom and understanding and your knowledge. You get a better knowledge of self. It's going to be harder and harder for that counterfeiting spirit to take control. And the counterfeiting spirit spurs on the avenging servitors to witness all the sins which it will make to the soul do. Furthermore, when it will rest in the night or in the day, it agitates it with dreams and desires of the world, making it desire all of the things of the world. In a word, it shepherds it to do all the things which the Archons have commanded for it. And it is antagonistic to the soul, making it do what it does not want to do. Let's get a precept real quick in the Bible. This is the book of Romans, chapter 7, verse 15. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I. The counterfeiting spirit then becomes the paralemptor, which means receiver of the soul, being in charge of relocating it in accord with its chastisements for the sins it forced it to commit, and is in great hostility to the soul. And when the soul has completed the chastisements in the chaos corresponding to the sins which it acquired, the counterfeiting spirit leads it up out of the chaos, being in charge of removing it to every region according to the sins it acquired, and it guides it toward the way of the Archons of the midst. And when it reaches them, questions it on the mysteries of the destiny. And if it has not found the mysteries, they, the Archons, question their destiny. And those Archons chastise that soul according to the sins it acquired, and the type of their chastisements I will tell you at the expansion of the all. And she, which is the Virgin of Light, which is the judge, examines that soul to determine that it is a sinning soul, and puts her light power into it for its straightness, and because of the body and the community of awareness, the type of which I will tell you at the expansion of the all. So where it says community of awareness, if you a realized soul, you actually have the ability to choose what time frame you incarnate in. You get to choose what family, what opportunities, what culture. But if you're an unrealized soul, you don't have that ability. Okay, so in a way, what the Pistis Sophia is saying is that if you a realized soul or even a semi-realized soul, you chose to be here at this time. All right, let's go to chapter 112. Again, 𝐭𝐻𝐿, Jesus continued in his discourse, saying, if on the other hand, it is a soul that has not succumbed to all the efforts of the counterfeiting spirit, but has become good and has found the mysteries of light, which are in the second space, or even those which are in the third space, which is within. So the second space is the external, and the third space is the internal. So that's within. Okay. When the time of that soul, the body, is fulfilled, then the counterfeiting spirit, along with the destiny, follows that soul, and it follows it on its way on high. And before it retreats on high, it speaks the mystery of the dissolving of the seals and all the bonds of the counterfeiting spirit with which the Archons have bound it to the soul. And when this has been spoken, the bonds of the counterfeiting spirits loosen themselves, and it no longer attaches to each soul, but releases the soul according to the commandments which the Archons of the great 𝐭𝐸𝐸 have given it, saying, do not let go of the soul until it tells you the mystery of the dissolving of all the seals with which we have bound you to the soul. So the counterfeiting spirit is tied to the Archons. Let's continue. If the soul then has spoken the mystery of the dissolving of the seals and of all the bonds of the counterfeiting spirit, and if it stops attaching itself to the soul and is no longer bound to it, then in that moment the soul speaks a mystery and releases the destiny to its region, to the Archons who are on the way of the midst. And it speaks the mystery and releases the counterfeiting spirit of the Archons of 𝐭𝐸𝐸 to the region in which it is bound to them. And in that moment, that is, the realized soul becomes a great light stream, shining greatly, and the avenging receivers who have got it out of the body are in fear of that soul's light and fall on their faces. And in that moment, that soul becomes a great light stream, becoming wings of light entirely, and passes through all the regions of the Archons and all of the orders of the light until it arrives in the region of its kingdom, up to which it has received mysteries. And at that moment, the receivers of that soul arrive with the mysteries which it has received, and seize that soul from the hands of the avenging receivers and the avenging paralemptors, return to the work of the Archons in the management of the leading out of souls. And the receivers of that soul who belong to the light, in contrast, become wings or vibrations of light for that soul, and become garments of light for it. And they lead it not into the chaos, because it is not allowed to lead souls which has received mysteries in the chaos, but they lead it along the way of the Archons of the midst. And when it is brought to the Archons of the midst, that soul is approached by those Archons, who are greatly afraid, and in violent fire, and with various faces, in a word, in great and measureless fear. And at that moment, the soul speaks the mystery of their apology, and they are extremely afraid and fall on their faces, being afraid of the mystery which it has spoken, and of their apology. And that soul releases their destiny and says to them, take back your destiny. I will no longer come to your regions from this moment on. I have become a stranger to you eternally, going now to the region of my inheritance. So when you apologize to the Archons, you are basically saying that you are done with the carnality. You are done with this world. You are done with the things of the lower heavens. You done partying. You done having fun, quote unquote. You done drinking. You done sleeping around. You done walking around thinking that you are just a body and that's it, and you just go to work and you just pay bills and stuff like that. Nah, you done. It is game, set, match. All right, and you got to get the mysteries. You got to get that hokmah, that wisdom. You got to get that bina, that understanding. You got to get that dayat, that knowledge, right? You got to get this word. Now let's go to the Nag Hammadi. Let's go to the authoritative discourse. Let's go where it says the word heals the soul's blindness. Our soul is sick because she lives in a house of poverty. Wait, pause. That house is speaking on your body. Okay? And the soul is feminine. So that's why you see where it says she lives. Okay? So your soul is feminine. Okay, back from the top. Our soul is sick because she lives in a house of poverty. And matter strikes her eyes. What is matter? The flesh, right? You came back into the flesh, right? You're blind. You don't even remember who you were. And matter strikes her eyes in order to blind her. There you go. For this reason, the soul pursues the word and applies it to her eyes as medicine. And she opens her eyes and casts off blindness. She casts off blindness. Let's skip down a little bit. After that, if such a one is in ignorance, once again, that one is in complete darkness and is a material being. You materialistic, right? You just want to have fun, right? You just want to cater to that counterfeit spirit. That is why the soul always takes a word and applies it to her eyes as medicine, so that she may be able to see. Then her light may overwhelm the foes that oppose her, those Archons, and she may blind them with her light, capture them in her presence, and make them collapse in exhaustion, and act boldly with her strength and her scepter. Let's go to the Bible. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 36. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. What did we say before? That household, that house is your body, right? So who is the foe here? The foe or foes is that counterfeit spirit. This whole entire time you've been interpreting it as a literal sense, but nah, it's spiritual. What is salvation? Let's get that in Luke 1:71, that we should be saved from our enemies. See, salvation is you being saved from your enemies. Who are your enemies? That counterfeit spirit. What did 𝐭𝐻𝐸 say in the wisdom of Jesus Christ? Let's get that in Nag Hammadi, where it says immortal humanity and Sophia appear. Let's go down where it says people. People might come to salvation and wake up from forgetfulness. You gotta remember who you are. You gotta have knowledge of self. Because once you get knowledge of self, ain't no Archon, ain't no counterfeit spirit gonna be running anything. Let's go to the excerpt from the Perfect Discourse, where it says knowledge leads to learning. For this reason, such ignorant people are blasphemers. They are godless, impious. There are not many people who are different from this, and godly people are few in number. That is why there is wickedness among the masses, since learning about what is right is nowhere to be found among them. Knowledge of what is right is truly healing for the passions of material existence, and learning comes from knowledge. But if there is ignorance and no learning in the soul of a person, then incurable passions persist in that soul, aka the counterfeit spirit is running the show. And more evil comes with the passions in the form of an incurable sore. And the sore gnaws at the soul, so that the soul produces worms from the evil sore, and it stinks. God does not cause these things, since God has sent knowledge and learning to people. Now let's go to the 8th light picture superscript. Let's go to 274. Unfortunately, there are powers that seek to bring about instead false pathways with the intention of blocking soul growth. This causes instances of confusion and the creation of untruths. These forces today still try to assert their influences, disrupting balance and harmony, and claiming that all that is fits exclusively into this body, into this world, right? So like when the Gentiles say this is all there is, there's nothing beyond this, okay? It stops here, right? Getting the money, you know what I'm saying? Gotta get to the bag. 276. These thoughts are often emanated by the fallen lords, the local logos, the Archons, or entities who seek to interfere with the transformation of the soul. This is 284. This is why this key parallels the 8th commandment that says, "Thou shalt not steal." Stealing goes far beyond wrongly taking a physical object that someone else possesses. It encompasses stealing identities, powers, and most importantly, information for soul growth, blocking our higher birthright. That counterfeit spirit is tied to those entities that want to keep you at a low vibration. So that's going to conclude this lesson. All right. Hopefully you learned something. You got something out of it. You were edified. You ate good. You got something out of the pantry closet. Had you some dinner. And I say shalom and stay strong.